Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69. Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are going to look at the KV5, the Russian Tier 8 heavy tank that's been around for like forever. Now, back in the day, this didn't used to be a great tank. I think it had the +2, -2 special matchmaking, so when it was +2, -2 matchmaking, it never see +2, so it would only have that +1. I think this one and the IS6, I believe, I could be wrong, but I think it was one of those special tanks. Now, there was a reason for that, because it wasn't the strongest of tanks. The KV5 has always had armor, but it's always had big weak points as well. So Wargaming had buffed the KV5, and to be fair, the buff was definitely necessary, and they've actually made it into a pretty decent tank. It's not impenetrable, but it is a decent tank now, especially when you do angle correctly. You can get quite a few bounces. So it is for sale at the moment for 6.5k gold, but it also comes in a bundle with the T77 for just 10,000 gold, which I think is actually, for both of them tanks, the T77 is a great tank, which I'll make a separate video for, and also the KV5, when played correctly, it is a good tank. So 2 tier 8 tanks for just 10,000 gold, I think is a really good price. So if you do have 10,000 gold, yeah, just look at that offer if you don't have both tanks, because it is a very good offer. So KV5 turret armor 180 millimeters. Now, of course, you can get more than that in certain places, and also in other places you'll probably get less than that. So the turret, it does have its weak points, it does have the hatch, and it can be very frustrating. Also, the hull, the same as well, 150 on your hull. Again, there are weak points, there are stronger points. You just have to find those stronger points and angle correctly to utilize them stronger points. The sides and the rear are all the same. So 150 on the turret, 150 on the hull. The rear 140 on your turret and 140. So overall, all around, you have really good armor. Now, in a tank like the KV5, normally it is better sort of over angle. If you do angle, kind of over angle, because then it does become very difficult to penetrate. Now, personally, I prefer the KV4 because there's less weak points and there's more chance to angle in the KV4. But the KV5 is still pretty solid. Now, the DPM is 2,121. So yeah, average DPM really. To be fair, it's got a kind of a shorter reload than normal heavies, but it has less alpha. So that reload is just 9 seconds. Now, your penetration is 230 on your APCR, 275 on your heat, which you're going to have to use a lot, especially if you do come up against those tier 9 tanks. It is a struggle, but 275 with calibrated shell, you'll get through most things. 59 on your HE. So your damage, you've got a 320 alpha gun on your APCR, just 270 on your heat. So you don't want to be firing heat if you don't need to, because 270 damage for a heavy tank is not the best. 400 on your HE. Aim time is 4.4, gun dispersion 0.362. Both of them not great, to be honest, and it has 7 degrees of gun depression with a top speed of 40 kilometers per hour. So it's all about playing it right. If you play it wrong, then you're just going to get absolutely torn apart, and it can be frustrating, because the tank does have quite a lot of armor. Like it has, if you angle correctly, it has an awful lot of armor. And if you come up against tier 7 tanks, then most of them will struggle to penetrate you. Not so much tier 9s. Tier 9s, you know, they will be able to penetrate you quite easily. And of course, tier 8, some will have to use APCR or their premium rounds to be able to penetrate you, because as soon as someone does switch to the premium rounds, then it does become a lot easier to penetrate. Now, the front of the armor, this is what I'm saying. The front of the armour, as soon as I take this shot, I'll show you what I just mean. And when I'm over angling sort of like that, I know it's only a Chrysler K, but you can see at the front, if I stop doing that, you've got all these sort of hatches at the front. They're actually quite troll. You can penetrate them, but they are troll. Now, back in the day, these were really easy, really easy to penetrate. And that's one thing Wargaming did look at. Now, that shot there was absolutely dreadful from my point of view. I should have just took a little bit longer in aiming for that guy. But yeah, I just totally messed up. But this game is not all about the damage. And you're not going to get a lot of damage in the tank. Honestly, you're not going to go out there and do 3 to 4k damage every game. So don't expect to do a big amount of damage in the tank. Occasionally you will. I mean, I've got a 5k game in it, but that's the highest damage I've ever done in the tank. But most of my battles, to be honest, is around that 2000 damage. But usually I do still block more damage than I get. So you can see here 1800 damage that we've blocked, and we've got 2000, and we're just going to finish just over the 2000 damage mark. So that's usually the average. You know, again, if you do get sort of to anywhere between 3 and 5, then yeah, you've had a good game. So we are going to show you a 3k game, but it is unfortunately not going to be a victory, because I could say I went for the wrong targets, the team went for the wrong targets, and overall it was, yeah, I think we could have won, to be fair. So how I play the tank is always different. Well, I say always different. If I am up against just all tier 8s or some tier 9s, then I do always try to find a wall to either side scrape from, or sort of just to, if I can angle in a certain way. But if I do come up against tier 7s, I do play the tank a lot more aggressive than I would if, of course, up against tier 9s. But yeah, overall, I like the tank. I do like the tank, but I just feel that even though you're paying money for it, and to be honest, I wouldn't probably, I know it's only 6.5k gold, which isn't a lot, unless you're going to get it as part of the bundle for the T77 for 10k, then I probably wouldn't spend 6.5k gold on it, because I just prefer the KV4. I prefer the KV4. I think you can angle a lot better in it. There's a lot less weak points. But yeah, it's not a bad tank to have in your garage, of course, if you've got no credits and you want to credit grind, or but if you want to credit grind, then there probably are better tanks to get than the KV5. But I think it is a very, very solid tank. I just feel that it hasn't, the armor again is only good when you're in certain angles. I just feel there's too many weak points in the KV5, you know. And I get if they sort of buff it even more, then it could actually be kind of OP. But yeah, I prefer, it's not that I don't dislike the tank, I do like the tank, but I just feel the KV4 is better in most ways. So here, this game, 1200 damage I have blocked, and I've got 2000 damage done at the moment. And all them damage blocked, I didn't ever try to sort of angle up against a building or anything like that, apart from the very beginning. And I always try to go at an angle. Now, this is where I do mess up, because what am I doing? I'm literally coming out in front of 4 tanks, sorry. And that's where I went wrong. But my team are low on hit points. I had the hit points, and I had to kind of make the move. And unfortunately, it just didn't pay off for me. I lost too many hit points doing so, and I wish I just would have maybe stayed a little bit, or gone for different targets. Targets where, like the Tiger 2 over there, or the T44, where they were kind of isolated. But because I decided to go for the tank I went for, I was just getting shot by absolutely everybody. So yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't to be. I've still managed to block 1870 damage. I think I'm going to get one more block damage, 2150 in total, and we do end up on 3200 damage. So I take full responsibility for that. I did make an error. I'm happy to admit that I make an error, and I always try to learn from my errors. That is why sometimes I do like showing these replays, because I tell you where I've gone wrong, and other people can learn from it as well. But overall, very good bundle for the 10,000 gold. Not so much, I don't think, for the 6.5k gold, but yeah, it's a decent tank when played correctly, but it can also be very frustrating because you're trying to angle and people just still penetrate you, and you're like, how are they penetrating? But you got to remember there are a lot of weak points with the tank. So that is my thoughts on the KV5. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But for now, I hope you enjoyed today's video. I'm meadsy69, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye bye.